Hello, welcome to our webinar about digitising your freight operations. This is one of what I think of a series of really unique webinars and workshops we'll be doing about how to leverage the benefits of digital change within the travel and transportation sector. My name is Conrad Thomason. I'm the digital transformation lead for Introduction Systems Limited, who are a digital and IT change consultancy. And what we do is we solve really complex digital and IT infrastructure challenges through our consultancy, through technological solutions, and through our managed services operation, which is based up in Cambridge. Now, a bit about me, I've got over 20 years of change management experience. I started my career working for a top-tier consulting firm delivering multi-million-pound change programs across many different types of sectors and organizations. And last year at Introduction, I was running a very complex, large digital transformation for a transport business on the South Coast. Now, I'm going to be running this webinar with a good friend, colleague, and director at Amido, Rob Pearson. Now, Amido worked with us on a lot of digital projects and digital transformations across many different sectors. And he's going to be giving us a demonstration about two digital solutions that we implemented for a transport client. But before I hand over to Rob, I just wanted to add a bit of context and talk a bit about some of the problems that we're trying to solve here. A couple of months ago, we ran a few webinars and wrote a few blogs about how the pandemic was driving digital change in the travel and transportation sector. Now with passenger services reopening again, and with freight operations having to continue supplying us with the things that we really need, there's increased pressure on our margins as well as how we retain and expand market share. And that's why we believe now, more than ever, is the time to act and start fast-tracking your digital change projects, which is why we introduced 7 digital strategies we've implemented to help you manage this change. Now, first of all, we spoke about the need to simplify and modernize your IT infrastructures and your architectures so they become more flexible, agile, scalable, and secure to manage changing patterns in demand. So then you can start driving some growth and enable real digital change. To coin a phrase, houses built on sand just won't stand. We also spoke about the necessity to enable flexible working and how we help one client continue serving throughout the pandemic as a result of implementing a cloud-based contact center solution, which you can usually get up and running within 10 days. Now, if you combine building a solid foundation with adopting a cloud-first approach, this can result in some significant cost savings, less storage, less computing, less network costs, and it can also keep your business running through this crisis and future crises. And whilst many leisure travelers are familiar with self-serve technology, commercial customers still rely on suppliers to do a lot of the work on their behalf, which is really time consuming and often fraught with errors. One of the solutions Rob will be presenting today is about how we gave freight customers the ability to put their own space on vessels and upload their own documentation digitally, which saves significant time and money and allows the freight operator to focus on attracting new customers. And as we all know, one operation that has continued keeping us going throughout this pandemic is freight. However, from our experiences, many of these businesses rely on a plethora of unintegrated systems, spreadsheets, and manual processes. And Rob will be presenting how we increased efficiency by automating and streamlining some of those core processes. And the pandemic has and will continue to have an impact on the way we travel, from what we pack, what we sit, where to sit, when to travel, and the prices we pay. All of this has had an impact on the digital journey, so it's important to reimagine it and make this experience as easy and enjoyable as possible. Too much friction in the journey, too many clicks, too many steps, your customers will drop out and you will lose sales. The crisis has also accelerated the need for businesses to bring all of their IT and business data into one place so you can blend it and correlate it and pinpoint service issues much faster, finding ways to improve business performance, and most importantly, drive competitive advantage in a very, very competitive marketplace. And finally, IT managed services. One thing is for sure, many of our clients, not just in the travel and transportation sector, would not have been able to continue operating successfully without our help managing and improving their core systems. Now, one of the areas we believe there are lots of opportunities and where we'd like to focus in on today is freight. Freight have been under a lot of pressure to continue supplying us with everything we need throughout the pandemic. And whilst they contribute to a significant proportion of a travel and transport business's revenues, many are highly inefficient, and there are very few opportunities that we've seen where they're increasing market share. Now, one of the things we do at the start of any digital project is to spend some time out in the field, walking in the customer's shoes, observing problems firsthand. And for one particular client, in partnership with our friends from Amido, we spent time observing freight operations end to end. Now, Rob's going to go into much more detail about our findings, but to summarize, here are some of the key points. First of all, there was a very high volume of paperwork and printouts. This would make it really difficult to operate what's called a just-in-time basis and also manage change. And with paper comes low visibility, which makes it difficult to plan or see where a vehicle was in the process. We also saw lots of manual tasks and calculations, such as calculating lane weights and space, resulting in lots of bespoke spreadsheets and systems. And communication between freight customers' operations was also poor. Satisfaction was low, with the majority of freight customers finding their experience poor. They would be constantly contacting the office and informing them of changes. And there was also a really high volume of claims. Now, this was a separate project to what we're going to demonstrate today. However, by digitising and reporting and processing of vehicle damages, conditions, as well as accidents and incidents, you can also experience a significant reduction in costly claims. And finally, there were lots of lost revenue opportunities. Because staff were spending time on the wrong things rather than the right things, there was very little opportunity or time to spend attracting new customers. So now I'd like to hand over to Rob, who will be demonstrating two digital products we've implemented, the Freight Self-Serve website. This fits into our strategy about extending self-serve to other parts of the business, and also a tablet-based app, which fits into our strategy about automating and streamlining business processes. So over to you, Rob.
Thank you so much, Conrad. Let me move on. Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you. My name is Rob Pearson. I'm a director at Amido. Amido is a technical consultancy, and what that means is we've got teams of consultants who help our clients how they can transform, usually using cloud technology. And we have teams of software developers who, by integrating, replatforming, and moving services to the cloud, basically make those transformations happen. And we've helped clients the likes of ASOS, one of the largest consumers of Azure across Europe, and Ministry of Justice, Peabody Housing. We're helping all of these clients transform at the moment. But my background is neither consultant nor software developer. I'm actually a UX guy by discipline, a user experience designer. So my perspective is very much around understanding who users are and how they behave. If we can understand how users break down into different constituencies, how those constituencies should be prioritized, what their needs are, what each group's needs are, and how important those relative needs are, then we can design services and products and platforms that allow them to meet their needs and kind of get out of their way of completing their goals. And so I'm going to talk today about these tools and techniques that I have as a user experience designer, and how we've brought them to bear for our clients in the ferry business to design two products. One of which is a self-serve platform that allows logistics customers to self-serve booking ferry crossings, and one of which is a load and stow app for a ferry business to automate the loading of freight onto the ferry. And I'm going to tell a story by looking at this, the journey of this trailer. It's a standard intermodal shipping container. It's in the UK, as it's there's a logistics company and a manufacturer of some sort. Maybe it's auto parts, maybe it's fruit and veg. Has ordered the trailer to pick up its cargo, and there are several steps in its journey across the UK, the ferry crossing, and until it gets to its destination. First of all, that logistics company has to book the ferry crossing in advance. Then it goes to the manufacturer and gets loaded up. It's the trailer's hauled to the actual port. Then it's planned to get loaded and then loaded onto the ferry itself. The condition is verified whilst it's on the loaded onto the vessel. The sailing occurs, and then it goes onward to its destination. And it's these 2 points I've highlighted. This is where we're going to be looking at this is where we've built tools to address, to automate the process and make the whole experience more frictionless. So we're going to start with booking the ferry crossing. And so just to remind you, the user here is let's say it's an administrator at a logistics company, and she needs to book the sailing so that this goes across the continent. And there are various problems with this process at the moment. The way it works for the most part is that the logistics companies, this is according to our research, they send bookings in by email. They might be a spreadsheet of bookings that they want to make. Usually these spreadsheets are in the sender's custom format. And in order to get those onto the back office systems at the ferry company, it's basically a manual rekeying job. So that's a nightmare for the admin team. It's they're rekeying data. It's very easy to make mistakes, and yeah, it's sort of ripe for automation. So yeah, manual input, not good at all. And we also know that people in the logistics business, they're constantly they want to update those bookings. There's constantly changing what's going to be consigned in any single kind of trailer. And it's hard to do that. Basically, they've got to phone up, they've speak to somebody, and they've got no confidence that what they've actually asked for has been updated. That's a problem. And the customer, the logistics company, they can't really see what they've got booked at any given time. They've just got to take it on faith that what they've asked for is what the ferry company's got booked. So there's really poor visibility around the current status of their bookings. And all of that adds up to really poor customer satisfaction for those logistics companies. So the tool which we developed, which we're going to now look at, addresses many of these concerns. It's a freight booking portal for that logistics company to make and administrate those bookings themselves. And I'm going to step us through this demo. So I'm going to sign in first of all. And the first screen that I see is well, it shows all upcoming bookings for this particular customer. We can see there's 5 bookings upcoming, and for each of them it says, you know, the destination, the date, how many trailers are booked onto that particular crossing, and whether there's any space left. And the first use case that we're going to explore is the logistics company wants to update that. They want to amend the contents of one of these trailers. So this user, Sam at Make Freight, she's going to click this View Edit button. And so now we see a breakdown of all 5 trailers that are booked on this crossing. We can see there's just some sort of, you know, the metadata around the crossing. There's a couple of passengers booked on this. I could click on that and go and edit that. There's all of the attached documentation is there, sort of in the same place. You know, this is stuff that's like faxed through or emailed through. It's really easy for the ferry company to lose this, and you know, it's a compliancy nightmare if there needs to be an audit with the current situation. Here, it's all in one place. It's really accessible, and the logistics company, they can just add more if they need to. So the use case is that Sam wants to add something to this first trailer here, and she can identify which one she wants, and she's going to click on this View Edit link at the end. Now we can see the trailer details, and it's a breakdown of everything that's on this trailer kind of consignment, and the user, she can edit this one, she can delete them, she could add a whole nother row. In this instance, we're just going to go and edit this first row, and yeah, okay, these are the details, and perhaps she, you know, edits some of the contents and kind of hits update trailer. Yeah, that trailer's been updated, and we can go back to the go back to the booking, and oh yeah, and that's that trailer updated. So the other couple of things you can do here, well, I'll just show you quickly. If I click on who the passengers are, I can add passengers or I can edit those, oh yeah, and then we're done. So we've updated that, and that's all sorted. The next use case that I want to show is booking a completely new departure. So we're not amending one that we've already got. Let's just book a new one. So we're here on the kind of landing page. We're back on the page that we started at, and I'm just going to click book a departure, and the page is asking me, well, what date do you want to book a departure around? There's a date window, or you can just give a specific date. And there's also a today's departure shown by default, because part of the research that we did suggested that the most common use case was like very short notice bookings. So they're all displayed by default. And actually, yeah, it's this top one that Sam wants to book on. So she's just going to click book here on the right. Oh, actually, yeah, you can adjust the dates if you want. So we're going to click book on the right, and so there's all the journey details. There's this first field, which is upload spreadsheet. So many logistics companies like to work in this way. They've got big spreadsheets of lots of, let's say, there's several trailers that she wants to book, or one trailer with lots of components. But we've got a common template here, which the logistics companies can use, so that we're getting them to use our format, so there's no kind of rekeying. So it can work their way if they like, but it's no burden on us. And then she can fill out the rest of these details. Let's just click on add trailer here. Okay, number of items, goods. Yeah, let's fill that out. I'm going to add that trailer. Yeah, that trailer's been added. And then I'm going to book that departure. So so that departure is now booked, and we're good to go. And those are the both of those user journeys there, the amend an existing booking and book a new departure. That's 95% of what all of these logistics companies ever want to do. And you can see how easy those processes are. We've gone through each of those processes is like 6 or 7 steps, and it's really quite intuitive to follow. I'm just going to show you a couple more pages in the tool that we developed. The user can see their booking history as well. It's pretty self-evident what that is, but it's super useful for them to be able to go back, see what was what. It just really improves that visibility of what they've been doing, instead of having to trawl back through email after email, trying to work out exactly what was where. That's pretty obvious. And also there's just the profile details, which that customer can change. So overall then, this solution kind of addresses those problems that I identified at the beginning, like in these ways. So the customer's self-serving, obviously. There's no emails flying backwards and forwards. Traceability is really good now. There's no rekeying necessary, so much less opportunity for transposition errors, stuff like that. It's obviously really easy for customers to update and amend bookings. This saves a load of time for that the administrators currently spend on the phone managing that process. The customer gets great visibility. They can see exactly what they've got at any given time coming into the future, exactly what they've had in the past. And the reporting is really good from the ferry company side. We can aggregate that data really quickly and develop views into that, just to show how busy individual shippings are, all the other data that you can imagine that they could action and innovate from. And all of that, of course, adds up to really good customer satisfaction, which is where we want to go to. It's the 21st century now. People's expectations around good customer experiences are much higher, even for B2B platforms like this. Okay, so that is the first of the tools which we developed that I wanted to talk about. And the second one is a load and stow app that we developed for the same ferry company. So so the context of use here is a loading officer that works for the ferry company on quayside, has a load of trailers on the quayside, and those trailers need to be loaded on to the ferry and loaded on in such a way that there's loads of business rules. I'm sure many of you are aware around which trailers can go next to which trailers. And then some trailers require refrigeration, so they need power points and so on. And then the balance of weight needs to be correct. There's loads of considerations around how stowing happens. And there's lots of problems with that at the moment. First of all, the load plan is paper-based. The actual plan that the loading officer and the stevedores use to actually guide these, to decide what goes where and guide them in, it's a paper template. And when we sent our team on site to research this, this is a template it's been photocopied a dozen times. It's really ropey quality. The working conditions, of course, it can be dark and wet and definitely very messy. So it's not a great quality document. And for the loading officer's kind of scribbles to try and kind of interpret what's going on. So that's not great. Loads of opportunity for error there and really inefficient. The whole process is reliant on a skilled loading team. And the loading teams that we found, they were super skilled. They're really, really good at their job. These are guys who have obviously been doing it their whole careers, and they're excellent at it. But of course, any reliance on single skilled individuals is a problem for a business. And so when we see situations where there's very skilled individuals, what we try and do is capture their expertise in a set of algorithms and try and bottle that, basically, so that the apps that we developed can replicate the expertise that we see in that loading team. Then the reporting, well, it's really onerous. If you want to get, if as a ferry company, you want to get aggregated stats on these, on what freight you've got, where it is, that kind of crossing data, you've basically got to go through these the paper copies of the load plans. And what actually happens to get this back to the admin team is that they are this paper load plan, which has been in the hands of the loading officer and the stevedores, actually on the vessel. It's grubby, it's creased. It gets faxed through to the office. First time I've heard of fax being used in probably maybe a decade and a half. And so that's obviously unreliable. There's loads of opportunity for errors creeping in there. So yeah, 3 problems with the existing process. So I'm going to show you an app that we developed for the loading officers and for the stevedores to use, Keysight loading this up. And it's a tablet app, as you can see. The research that we did suggested this is the right device for those people to use. We looked at the conditions, it's dark, it's wet. We tried certain things, you would have thought with a load plan and you're guiding, you're trying to plan where containers go, where trailers go, that maybe drag and drop would be good. That turned out not to be the case. Drag and drop's not very, it can be unreliable when things are wet, and the scale of a plan, it needed too much sort of fine movement. So it's the whole app it's tappable, not drag and droppable. And there are a bunch of other considerations that we built in based on our understanding of the context of use. And you can get ruggedized devices that would work really well in that kind of environment. So I'm going to tap in the middle here. I'm going to log in. So just to remind you, I am a loading officer now, working for the ferry company, trying to load a vessel with a bunch of trailers that are quayside. So I'm going to click on Manage Sailings. We don't need to talk about user admin here today at all. Manage Sailings. And the view that I get, well, first of all, it's a table of all of the sailings that are coming up within the with the filters that are applied, which is basically at the moment departures from Dover on this particular date. And what I want to do is manage the loading of this first one here. So I'm going to click on that row. Oh yeah, to just demonstrate some of the filters that we can apply. So I'm going to click on that row. Okay, and what we now see is the load list. In fact, if I scroll down here, you'd see a load more. Each one of these rows is a trailer that's currently quayside, that needs to be planned into this sailing. If I swipe left to get to this like report tab, we can see just some examples of the kind of reporting that we could do. Hazardous goods on board, meterage by customer, remaining capacity by lane. You know, it's really, really easy for us to do that kind of complex reporting that the current loading officers are kind of, they've got such a great intuition for at the moment. They've got that sense once stuff's been loaded in, how to balance things up. But if they were actually doing it just using the data that they had and the bits of paper that they had, it'd be really difficult to do. So reporting is really easy. Let's swipe back to the load list, and then let's swipe right onto the Stow plan, because this is what we want to do. We want to start planning out how our trailers want to get loaded onto here. So the Stow plan, there's some of these boxes which are dotted. That's a space that a trailer can occupy. And these dark blue ones down here, these are trailers that are already on board. Yeah, obviously many trailers just remain on board as a vessel passes through port. And that's what these represent. They're going to a onward destination. Let's just click on one of these. So this shows it's the registration of the vessel, the location of the trailer, sorry. And basically some data around it. So we can click on any of those, tap on them, and see data around what those containers are. But what we want to do is plan one of our Keysight trailers on board. So I'm just going to click on one of these empty ones. So I've selected a space, and now it's asking me which trailer that it knows is Keysight do I want to assign to that space. Here are all the trailers. I'm going to click assign. And there it is, it's dropped it into that spot. It's still dotted. Dotted shows it's sort of a draft and that it's not confirmed. And let's just do let's say I've got a passenger car, but I also need to plan in. I'm going to click on the spot next to it, and I can click up here to assign another status. And here's the passenger car, so I'm going to click on that. Oh, and there it's assigned the passenger car into that slot. Okay, and I'm going to proceed through all the rest of them, assigning all the rest of the like vehicles I've got Keysight, and now I want to publish that draft. So I'm going to click on this cog up here, which has got all of the various options. You know, I can publish a draft, I can confirm the final plan, and various other bits and like config stuff that I'm not going to go into. Let's click publish draft Stow plan. And now these have all turned to solid outlines to show that draft's been planned, and it's showing that we're 100% planned. We've got all of the trailers that we had Keysight on board. So now we're in good shape to actually publish this. I'm going to click on the cog again. I'm going to click confirm final Stow plan, and yeah, we're all good now. And now I can move to the second phase, because that was the planning where I'm deciding where things are going to go. Now I need to actually get them on board and get the stevedores to bring them in. So it's time to load them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on one of these containers that I want to actually start loading. Okay, right, I've clicked on it. I've got its options. I want to set it to in transit, which means it's being moved from Keysight to its location. So I'm going to click that. And now the app displays the reg of the vehicle, and this is like a sign that the loading officer can hold up to the stevedores. The stevedores are they're driving a tug to pull the trailer on board, and at the moment this happens by the loading officer basically shouting really loud and pointing to indicate where stuff needs to go. And so we felt there was the scope for making that a bit more efficient. So we've this shows the reg of the vehicle that needs to be moved and the location that it needs to go to. So so you don't need to shout anymore. The stevedore can see where that needs to go. And when that's done, we can see that trailer which I selected, it's now sort of changed status to in position, but I need to confirm that it is. So I'm just going to click on it again, and I'm going to confirm it as on board. So that's the process, and you know, we're 2% loaded now. I go through the rest of the process for the rest of the containers, But that's how it works. It's and that as a solution addresses the problems that I talked about in the first place. Well, first of all, there was the problem with faxing crumpled bits of paper backwards and forwards. This app, it syncs instantly. The back office has got a real-time view of exactly what's happening Keysight, what's all happening on board. And really, when we do these sorts of integrations for other clients of ours, often they come up with new and innovative uses for that data. And we absolutely expect that although we've solved one problem by instant syncing, the fact that they would have real-time data, they would probably come up with other uses and other applications for that. And that's why that's where innovation really happens, and it's often quite unexpected or unpredictable. Instant retrieval of that information, actually I've sort of talked about that really. And finally, there's the less reliance on skill. The expertise that the loading officer, the stevedores have, that's undoubted. They are actually super good at it. But if you're less reliant on them, then that means you're more robust as a business, and that's absolutely what we want, particularly at the moment. Okay. Oh, and then also, yeah, well, there's great reporting. So that visibility point, which I've talked about actually, that's just fantastically good for the ferry company. Okay, so that's the journey of the trailer. It's gone from the point of origin, the manufacturer. It's been booked on smoothly, self-serve. You know, think about the happy path here. The logistics company could book this, and it could get loaded by the the loading officer, and nobody in the back office even needs to know that this has happened. Nobody needs to have been spoken to. The systems have recorded everything. There's in a happy path, there's zero administrative burden on a self-serve like this, which is a fantastic kind of well, it's easy to demonstrate ROI. So that's the journey of this container. That concludes my section. So I am going to hand back to Conrad now. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Rob. So from our experiences of digitizing freight operations, as Rob just spoke about, from making a booking through to loading and offloading the freight, there are some real significant benefits up for grabs. So for this particular client, by eliminating paperwork, manual tasks, waste, delays, and errors, it would save them over 350 hours of manual processing and non-value adding work a week. And by reducing non-value adding tasks, our client would then be able to focus on commercial customers, giving them better service, which in turn has an impact on market share and the ability for you to start growing your customer base. And I remember I spoke about some of the side projects around automating and the process of reporting and processing of vehicle condition reporting and vehicle damage reporting, and also accidents and incidents. In fact, we implemented this solution for our client, and they started to see a 25% reduction in costly claims, often false, because if you increase accidents or increase incidents, that prevents accidents from happening. And our client would also start to see dramatic improvements in customer satisfaction. So freight customers no longer need to contact the office or handle paperwork and get frustrated with all this rework. And freight operational staff will be happier too. You know, less firefighting, less complaint handling, and less problems to fix. Now, if you invested in all of the freight solutions we spoke about today, you should expect to see a really quick return in less than 1 year. So we hope you enjoyed our webinar about digitizing your freight operations. We're planning to run further webinars covering crewing and self-serve in the coming weeks. Please don't forget to let us know about what you thought about the webinar via the feedback form. We really look forward to catching up with you all again soon. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.